अपना कम्युनिटी। ये वो जगह है जहां आप अपने असली पोटेंशियल को एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हैं। देखो, सबके पास स्किल्स होते हैं, पर क्या आपके अंदर वो स्पार्क है जो आपको कामयाबी की ऊंचाइयों तक ले जा सकता है? अगर आप सोच रहे हैं जॉब चेंज करने के लिए लेकिन रेज्यूमे सेलेक्ट नहीं हो रहा, या फिर इंग्लिश में इंटरव्यू देना थोड़ा चैलेंजिंग लग रहा है, तो फिक्र मत कीजिए। यहाँ हम हैं आपके साथ, आपको सपोर्ट करने के लिए। अपना कम्युनिटी में आपको मिलेगी बेहतरीन कम्युनिटीज जहां आप अपने प्रोफेशनल स्किल्स को सुधार सकते हैं। चाहे आप एक्सेल, टैली, जीएसटी में माहिर बनना चाहें, या फिर आप खुद एक ब्यूटिशियन या डिजाइनर हैं, तो यहां आप अपने काम को शोकेस करके दूसरों को टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स देते हुए आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। अपना कम्युनिटी में आपको मिलेगा मेंटर्स का एक खजाना और बड़े इन्फ्लुएंसर्स का साथ, जो आपको हर कदम पर 1-to-1 गाइड करेंगे। यहाँ आप ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं अपने फील्ड या इंडस्ट्री स्पेसिफिक ग्रुप्स, जहां आपको ऐसे कई लोग मिलेंगे जिनसे सीख के आप वो गलती ना करें जो वो कर चुके हैं। ऐसे लोगों की जिन्होंने स्टार्ट किया था एज एग्जीक्यूटिव्स एंड आर नाउ सक्सेसफुल मैनेजर्स इन देयर डोमेन्स, जो आपको आगे बढ़ाने में मदद करेगा। यहाँ आपको मिलेगा वो सही डायरेक्शन जो आपकी करियर को नेक्स्ट लेवल ले जाएगा। तो लेट्स अनलॉक योर पोटेंशियल टुगेदर। अपना कम्युनिटी में ज्वाइन करें और अपने सपनों की ऊंचाइयों तक पहुंचने का सफर शुरू करें।
Thank you everyone for joining again. Welcome to today's session. So, quickly introducing myself, I'm Siddharth. Sorry, I'm from QFIS. We are partnering with Apna for hosting these sessions. So we'll be starting today's session now. A quick intro about these sessions. If you're attending these for the first time, this is part of Apna Community's Exclusives, a webinar series that we have been conducting for the last couple of months. We host regular sessions from 7 p.m. on weekdays and between 3 to 5 p.m. on weekends. And we cover a wide variety of topics like product management, Gen AI, interview prep, spoken English, resume creation, etc. So the main objective of these events is to help you grow professionally, help in the advancement of your career, and get better jobs. So today's session is objective and key results for product managers. And for covering the same, we have Venkat with us. Hey, hi Venkat. Thank you so much for joining. To give you a quick introduction about Venkat, he's a senior product manager at Microsoft. He's a seasoned professional with over a decade of experience. Venkat has been instrumental in scaling SaaS services globally, ensuring they meet the demands of enterprise services. His expertise has contributed to significant improvements in performance, readability, and cost efficiency. In summary, Venkat's technical acumen, strategic mindset, and customer focused approach have been invaluable in driving innovation and growth within enterprises, services, and domain. So, apart from this professional journey, he's also mentored a lot of professionals, freshers, and we're glad to have him with us today. So, before I hand over the session to Venkat, I'd just like to remind anyone if you want to ask any questions or at any point, please drop in in the message box. You can also unmute yourself. Just raise your hand and unmute. आपको कभी भी किसी वक्त पे कोई सवाल पूछना मैसेज बॉक्स में डाल सकते हैं आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट भी कर सकते हैं आप अपना हाथ रेज करके तो विदाउट फर्दर अड्यू हैंडिंग ओवर टू वेंकट ऑल योर्स
Yeah, thank you. So hi everyone, I hope my voice is audible. So yes, part of Microsoft. I've been a product manager for like almost 5 years now. And I've been in the industry for close to 15 years, right? So that's about myself. Today, we are going to talk about something called as OKRs, objectives and key results. So this is something that is currently, I would say, universal, right? I mean, no matter where you go in the industry. So for just for context, right, I was part of Flipkart before Microsoft, and then now Microsoft. So this is something that we use in product management in both the companies. Right? Obviously, how we use it, there'll be minor tweaks which will suit the company and all of those things here and there. But this is something that is universal. And as a PM, knowing OKRs, knowing your OKRs, is something that is very, very essential for you to become or to be a better product manager. Right? I mean, it's not actually not even product managers, even partners and VPs have their own OKRs that they track. Right. So that is the importance of the OKRs itself. Right. So First of all, I'll go into what does OKR stand for, etc. Right? OKRs is key objectives and key results. One second, I'm just doing the chat. Sorry. Yeah. So objective, what do you want to accomplish, right? So clear, inspiring goals shared across teams and organizations. So typically to limit or to sharpen your focus instead of not go big bang and then focus on 10 different things in a particular delivery cycle or in a particular planning cycle, we typically try to have it like around 3 to 5 objectives, right? Right from an individual product manager to a leadership PM, like a senior director or a VP of product management, they will have some OKRs at their levels, whereas ICs will have an OKR at their level. Obviously, the scope of the OKRs will be different. They will have a much broader scope, whereas the individual contributors or like a single PM might have a very narrow scope. But then typically these people have like 3 to 4 OKRs that they track in a planning cycle, right? And what is a key result? Key result is how will you measure the results? How will the team measure the results? I'll give you an example of how this is constructed, but just laying out the terms, right? So objective is what do you want to accomplish? Like I can say that I want to make my product the best supportable product, right? Or the best onboard, like the most adopted product on whatever, right? And key result is how would you measure it, right? For instance, I can take a real example. I can say that assuming I'm doing it for Swiggy, right? My objective is that I will make sure that there are no payment failures. My objective is to make sure there are no payment failures. Key result is I will say that the payment failure metric or whatever is greater than 99 point or lesser than 99.9%. So there is absolutely no scope for failure. So that's the metric that I will measure or I will track. So this is something that you can quantify, right? And then initiatives. So what are you going to do to achieve this, right? So obviously for that, you can say that I'm integrating with so many payment vendors. I'm having these two-factor authentication, there's multiple session persistence, blah, 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 whatever, right? So you can say, this is what I want to achieve. This is how I will track, how I'm going to achieve it. And the other one is what am I going to do to achieve that, right? So if you look at it, the what's and the why's and the how's, right? So that is what your OKR is. So yeah, go to the next one. So this is how you typically put them together. We will do something as measured by this key result via this initiative. So this is your formula. So once you have your OKR set, once you have your whatever objective and key results set, right? So this is how you can frame a sentence, right? So you can, if somebody asks you, right, an elevator pitch or whatever, right? I give you 10 seconds, tell me what do you do? So you'll say, I will do this or we will do this by measuring this via certain initiatives, right? So as simple as that, right? You can just put that in one statement saying that what are you delivering as a team or as a company in a particular period of time, right? So this is not just at an individual level, but at a company level as well, right? So any company, so like I said, the scope will vary as you go down the ladder or up the ladder, but then it is primarily only 3 to 5. So be very, very careful of that. Don't have 10 different objectives as a PM or as a team, because you will definitely not have the time to focus on all of them, right? So yes, so how do you leverage OKR to align to teams or align teams on a common business goal, right? So why do you need this OKR? So as a PM, you don't manage or you don't directly influence or control a team, right? The engineering team have their own hierarchy, but as a PM, you need to influence them, right? And this OKR will help you in doing that, right? And just one stat, which is 96% of the employees who use OKRs understand how their work ties into the broader company goals, right? So now don't think you are a PM, think of yourself as a developer. And somebody, your manager is asking you to do a particular task, right? Hey, can you fix this bug? Hey, can you develop this code? If you don't know why you are doing it, you will just end up doing what the given task to you, right? You will not look around the task, outside the task to see why am I doing this? What is the impact of doing this and all of those things, right? And to be very honest, you will still do a good job. You will deliver what has been asked of you. But if you know the bigger picture, if you know the business goal, right, and all of those things, there are chances. Okay, first of all, tangible impact. You will clearly know what are you working towards. So you will have that involvement in doing certain things. For instance, Apple, right? Their status, I mean, what they call them, their why is to break the status quo. So any engineer, any developer working in Apple will always think that I need to break the status quo, right? Which means that if somebody tells them, hey, this is how it is done, please do it. Everybody will go and question, why should we do it like this? Why can't we do it like this? What is the impact of not doing it this way, right? So they want everybody to think like that. So similarly, for you in your company or for whatever that you're doing, if somebody tells you that I want to increase adoption by 100% or like by 50%, and they ask you to do something, you will always go back and say, hey, can I also do this? This will also be helpful in adoption. Why don't we do this? This is just an incremental work. So you can deliver bigger business impact or more deliverables if you understand the bigger picture, right? So that is the reason why we have this OKR structure. So this OKR, typically once you have constructed your OKR, everybody in your organization, right, right from your VP to your developers, junior most developers will know your OKRs, right? So they should have a very common place where they can always go and see what an OKR is, what the OKR for the companies and all of those things, right? So that they get to know like what are they doing, why are they doing all those things. And the other one is it is, so this is a very tangible thing. The other one is also if they are at a place where they have conflicting priorities, should I do this or should I do that, etc. Right? When they this versus that decision, all those things comes up. If they have this decision or if they have this OKR clarity with them, they will be able to decide for themselves, right? Saying that, okay, this is what I want to achieve. By doing this, the key result will increase by 5%. But if I do this, it will increase by 10%, right? So then they will decide and then they can say that, hey, let's do this. I can improve it by 10%, right? So this is the kind of empowerment that you want to bring in your organization, right? And for you as a product manager, if you can bring in this level of empowerment to your engineering teams, you will be much more valued because you are not just treating them as resources, but then you are empowering them to be better than what they can actually do, right? So this is the power of OKR itself, right? So obviously, so if you look at it from any company point of view, obviously the biggest, the head of the pie is the mission, or why your company is even in the market, right? For instance, like Azure, right? The company, Microsoft Azure, the company that I work for, our mission is to build the world's computer, right? So which means that we're not just building a computer for somebody. You want to build a computer for the world, right? The cloud computing thing, right? The storage, the compute, the networking, everything. So you want to build it for the world, or even for networking. The organization that I am part of, we say that we want the network to be the air. It should be there, but nobody should notice it being there. So that's the mission of what you're working towards, right? So that is obviously that's beyond OKRs, but that is the mission the company will have. The company will have its own values and cultures. So that is obviously outside of all of these things. And then comes the part where the company will decide have its own strategic priorities, saying that now in the next 1 year, we will focus on this. This is a strategic priority for me, right? I want my platform to be robust, right? If I want to build the world's computer, then my computer must be very, very stable, right? I can have 1,000 features on top of the computer, but it doesn't matter. If my computer is not stable, then nobody's going to buy it, right? So my strategic priority as Azure would probably be that I would focus on reliability, resiliency, and all of those things, right? So that is your priority. Now comes to the OKRs, the objectives, key results, and key initiatives, which is more in your hands, right? So the one till this point, let me get a highlighter. The one till this point is very, very leadership driven, right? Probably your CVP or your like chief, corporate vice president or your senior vice president or somebody will be deciding on all those things. But below that is where everybody, like your VP, your director, yourself, everybody will get involved, right? Which is objective, right? So it's my strategic priority. Let's take an example. My strategic priority as a company is resiliency, and reliability, right? My objective is to say that 99%, or like say, I'll be the most reliable cloud platform in the market, right? Key result. My uptime should be always above the 99.9999%, right? I should never have an uptime of downtime of more than 1 minute or 1 millisecond or a 2 millisecond or whatever, right? My downtime should never be below that. So that is my key result. The key initiatives, what am I going to do to achieve that? I am working on project X, project Y, project Z. Project X is very short term. This much impact. Project Z is long term, 2 years, but then the impact will be so much and all of those things, right? So these are the key initiatives. So as you can see, this is how the triangle or the pyramid is broken down. The purpose of why the company or why the product or why that particular thing is there is the top half. The middle part is your strategy. This is my priority. What am I going to do? What are my objectives? And then the below part is your execution. Like, how am I going to achieve that? Right? So typically what you will do is that if you have a strategic priority is set, you will essentially break down your strategy into objectives or what you want to accomplish and the key results, which are the metrics that will indicate your progress. Right. So this is how you will typically break down. So this is how the organization works, right? If any product company, this is how they work. They are driven by mission and values, but the execution is done by OKRs, right? Right. So I'll probably just quickly pause here. If anybody has any questions, I will address them before I go to the next slide. I'm sorry, I see somebody's voice. I mean, I hear somebody's voice, but I'm not able to hear what they said. Hello.
Nilav, you have unmuted. Do you want to ask something? Please go ahead. Others, if you have any questions, you can always use the chat box as well.
Okay. So I will then go back to the slides. So as you can see, the OKRs is a very, very powerful construct, right? So because like I just showed in the previous slide, all the big companies, right? I mean, just the big tech companies that are there, right? Everybody will work in this framework, right? From Microsoft to Google to Facebook to Netflix to Nvidia, everybody, right? Everybody will have this at the core of their value chain or whatever, right? So this is how all the companies work. So this is not something that is, hey, it might be useful here, not useful there. No, any product company on earth currently is using the OKR framework, right? There might be very, very few companies which don't do it, but probably for certain reasons. But then I can assure you that 99.9% of the companies use the OKR framework, right? So OKR framework, right? So they are generally contextualized with what is called as the 5 superpowers, right? That help the company deliver the goal. So these are the 5 superpowers that the OKR framework has, right? The first superpower is focus. So you have 3 to 5 OKRs per quarter. So you get the power to say no to everything else. And if somebody gives you 10 OKRs, you can go and tell them, hey, 3 to 5 is what I want to do. The rest 5 is a no, right? I can only do so much in a quarter, right? Yes, we will all be happy if you can do everything in a quarter, but nobody can do that, right? I mean, that's a reality. And any company is always stretched for resources. No matter how many how much deep pocket they have, we are always stretched for resources, right? So which means that you need to have the power to say no, and OKR will give you that, saying that 3 to 5 OKRs is what I can do. Beyond that is a strict no, right? So focus, coming back to focus, right? So employees want to know what is the most important thing that you want me to focus. So OKRs will give them that, okay, this is what I want you to focus on. And I give you the permission to say no for anything else and everything else, right? So what can be eliminated, it gives you that power. So that is the first superpower. Alignment, ensuring everyone is rowing the same direction across the organization and pulling on the same rope, right? So obviously, right, as a team, like just not even an organization, right? Imagine a team. You have 5 developers who are planning to increase the reliability, and there are 5 developers who are planning to add more features. Obviously, when you add more features, you're potentially adding more vulnerabilities, more bugs, because there's a new functionality, right? You never know new functionality how they will work. It might cause a lot of what do you call unexpected failures, issues, etc. So if somebody is trying to improve reliability and somebody is doing features, obviously you are going into different directions. So at the end of the quarter, you will not move anywhere, right? I want more features, I want more reliability. Both are pulling in opposite direction, you will be in the same place, right? You are there basically where you started. But imagine everybody pull in the same direction, right? So go towards reliability, right? So you moved your needle towards reliability or features. You added more functionalities, right? So the most important thing is you want everybody to be part of the company's mission and aligned to a common goal. So OKRs will help you do that. True, transparent. I mean, so that is the second superpower. The third one is transparency, right? Ownership of core outcomes across the organization creates a clear accountability and service dependencies and roadblocks, right? Uh, so obviously, right? So all your employees, they want real answers from your leadership, saying that okay, what is the outcome that we are working towards, right? So by putting this OKR, if your leaders disclose a OKR, then it gives you clear transparency, right? Saying that as a leader, as a company, this is what we are trying to do, right? So OKRs will allow all the employees to see the goals publicly, leading to accountability and collaboration, right? So these are the things so this is the third superpower that OKR will give you. The fourth one is tracking. The frequency of assessment is critical for agility and dynamic real-time data enables faster decision making. Obviously, the thing is, uh, if you do this and if you're tracking tracking the OKR on a weekly or a monthly or a bi-weekly thing, you will know how much is moving, what is moving, why certain things are not moving. Imagine the other situation where you have 10 different things. Obviously, you cannot have 2 hours just to sit and review. But if you have just 3 things, it's very, very easy for you. The agile teams can work actually in an agile way, saying that in 30 minutes, I can quickly review 3 OKRs, right? 3 things what I want to do. Why am I stuck? What can I do to unblock them? Done. In 30 minutes, you can be very, very productive, right? So that tracking is the fourth superpower that you get. The fifth one is basically stretching, right? Basically, employees still want to have the freedom for moonshots, right? Without the fear of failure, right? So obviously the thing is, in the OKR planning itself, typically what managers do is they keep 80% of the time for the OKRs, and then the 20% time is for such uh, futuristic things that the employees want to try out. Obviously, if you're just saying that, okay, come do this, go, etc., there is no incentive for the employees to experiment. So you have to give them the room for experiment. So you give them the stretch thing saying that you get 20% of your time, try something out. If it works, then we will get it back, right? We will see how we can stretch and accomplish it, right? So it gives you that sense of ownership also, right? So those are the 5 superpowers that you typically get because of using OKRs. And so that is another that's another very important reason why companies use OKRs is because of these powers that you get, right? Obviously. So now coming to the question of, okay, what do I need to do to make OKRs successful, right? Uh, if an OKR is being just adopted in a smaller team, it will not be successful. You need it to be company-wide, organization-wide. Why? Because say you are a CVP, again, I'm just going to take an example. Your SVP is going to say that as a company, we are focusing on reliability, right? So which means that all the individual teams will focus in that particular direction. Whereas if you just follow OKRs in a small team and say that, you know what, our team is interested in reliability. The other teams will come and say, we don't care. Like your team can do whatever you want. Why should we care? Right? But if your leader, if your SVP or if your CEO says that this is reliability is an important thing, right? So then everybody will work towards that, right? And obviously it will underpin the culture of the company, right? So if I say reliability is the important objective that I want to achieve, then it means or it says the culture of the company. So the company itself wants everybody to be reliable, or the code that they write to be reliable, right? So that underpins the culture of the company itself. Executive sponsorship. So if you can come up with certain programs saying that, hey, I have this moonshot idea, right? Saying that this futuristic plan, if I do this, there's a very big impact that we can have in terms of reliability, right? So if you can go and give it to your SVP or your director or your senior director, whoever, right? So then they can sponsor that program saying, hey, I see value in this. This will help me achieve my objective, right? Why can't I sponsor it? So they can actually come back to you and say, I will give you 5 developers or 10 developers. Go and develop this, right? Show the value to me. So it can get you the sponsorship. Uh, Obviously establishing business rhythms, right? So if you have this, you have your Agile, you have a Scrum and all of those things. So every team, even if developers move from one team to the other, they know the rhythm, they know the drill. Just other things that they work on are going to be different, but they know that there is a stand-up where they come and update the progress, where they have to go and update the task, how do they estimate certain features. So the rhythm is always set. So it makes it very, very easy for people to move around and still be productive, right? Obviously, greater transparency is something that we saw already. Enhanced scoring and reflection. Obviously, you probably as a developer, you're working on something, or you as a product manager, you envision something. You're saying that, okay, I'm building this OKR, right? Now, after 6 months, right, you've achieved certain things. You wanted it to be 50%, but then you achieved 100%, or like say 80%. So you can go back and say, wow, I've achieved I've achieved a lot, right? I mean, so scoring is there and reflection is there. And you can go back and see, I started off to do this. I did so many things. And in the end, I was able to achieve this. So you can pick insights, you can take learnings from them and use it for your future, right? Instead of just doing task A, task B, task C, done, 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 you're not going to learn anything from it. But if you have this OKR approach, you can always reflect on what you've done. And ownership, right? Obviously, I own the OKR, right? So if I deliver it, I can always go back and say, I was the one who made reliability from 80% uptime to 99% uptime, right? So obviously, if I just do certain tasks saying that I delivered this 5 features in Azure, rather than me going and saying, hey, I made the reliability from 80% to 99%, right? What is more impactful, right? So that's the other thing of the OKR itself. You get that pride, you get that ownership of doing certain things, delivering certain things, right? Obviously, so I'm just going to pause, look at the chat there. I think there are some chat. Okay, freshers apply for product management. So yeah, I think there's one constant question of freshers can apply for project management. Uh, right now, yes, there are a lot of freshers who are applying for project management and all of those things. But I think that is anyways beyond the scope. If you have the necessary skills, if you have the necessary educational qualification, or if you've done this in the past, obviously freshers you might not be possible. But if you've done some courses where you know how things work, you can get into an entry level place where you can obviously, right, you're not a seasoned project manager, but you can always figure out a way if you know, if you have some background. Nobody's going to hire you without any qualification and then train you. So they are not, I don't think anybody is that philanthropic to just invest in you that much. But if you have the qualifications, then yes, there's a chance. There are companies who will take you for entry level roles, right? Now I will go back to the session itself, right? So what are the common obstacles that you would face or you could face while implementing OKRs, right? So one is lack of focus, right? So if your OKR is to decide on a small set of objectives, each with a set of key results one at a time, right? So like I said, a lack of focus, right? So if you be very ambitious and then you say that I can take 7 OKRs, you will lose focus. You will not see the OKRs delivering results for you. Then you will think that, okay, OKRs is not powerful, let me drop it and do whatever I'm doing, right? So yes, you should always make sure that you stick to the framework of having 3 to 5 OKRs. If you go beyond, then you will have the lack of focus, then you will not see OKRs delivering any impact for you. Two, lack of patience and or commitment, right? So you have to wait for a while, like 3+ months for the OKR to yield results. Like I said, right? if I'm going to say that I improved reliability from 80% to 99%, I cannot do it in 2 days. I cannot do it in 1 week. I need to wait 6 months or a year for me to do it, right? So you need to have the patience and commitment saying that I have full commitment in saying that if I deliver this key result, this will impact my business in a certain way. And I have to stand behind my decision and deliver it. The good thing is in OKR, even after delivering, you can go and say that, hey, we wanted to make it from 50 to 85%, but it was only 75%. You can still learn from it, understand why we couldn't take 85%. Is it because it is not even achievable? Or there were too many obstacles that we overestimated our planning? Or it is what it is, right? So you can always go back and learn from certain things and make your next planning much better, right? Obviously, it's a life itself is a learning cycle, right? So similarly for OKRs also. So you will obviously start off with a very ambitious objective or a key result. You will learn, you'll understand more of the company, you will understand more about the market that you're operating in, you'll understand the obstacles, challenges in the market, and you will refine your OKRs for the next time, right? So that you can gradually, incrementally deliver results, right? So that is another thing. Third is a lack of regular check-ins, right? Like I said, agile, stand-up, scrum, whatever, right? If you don't have regular check-ins, it's difficult to keep OKRs on track. Like I said, it takes a long time to deliver, but then your check-ins have to be very frequent. So that I can quickly course correct. I can say that, okay, I don't see this is going in the right direction. This may or may not give impact. Let's quickly course correct and do something else, right? So if you don't have that, you will probably finish your 3 months and then you will see, okay, wow, nothing happened. Why nothing happened, right? Probably if you've checked much earlier, like the 1 month mark or the 2 weeks mark, you might have had the power to change certain things to make it work. Right? So that's another thing. Lack of vision, mission, and values. Right? So as a company, if you don't have any vision, mission, and all those, like I said, right? If Azure is not saying that I want to be the world's computer, I don't have a mission. I don't have a vision for the company. Right? So I can just go and define whatever OKR they want. Today I will say reliability. Tomorrow I will say feature. Day after tomorrow I will say platform. Right? I can keep on changing my OKR every 3 months. Right? It will not help anybody. Right? So as a company, you should be very clear. Only then that will percolate down towards the organization. Right? Okay, I'll go to the next slide. Okay. So now we've seen how effective OKR is, what are the common challenges and all of those things, right? So now we will see how to write effective OKRs, right? I'm going to share some best practices of how to write an OKR, right? To write both objective and key result. Initiatives are are different things that you will have to have context to understand how to write an initiative. But for objective, begin with the basic formula for objectives, right? Verb. What do you want to do in order to, so that, what do you hope to achieve? For example, verb, drive, better attendance. Like drive is a verb, right? Better attendance at our conferences to improve the customer's networking experience. Right? So this is an objective. I want to drive better attendance at our conferences in order to improve the customer's networking experience, right? So this is a very clear objective, right? Now, for key result, what do you do, right? Again, verb, what I'm going to measure from X to Y. Verb, increase, what I'm going to do? I'm going to increase attendance from 300 to 500 people, right? Okay, one example for an initiative or a project is marketing campaign, right? Event marketing campaign. I'm going to do an event marketing campaign, social media marketing campaign. I'm going to stick flyers, posters, whatever. I'm going to have referral campaigns. These are the initiatives that I do to get what I want, right? So this is the formula. Both of them start with a verb. First is what do you want to do? Second is what are you going to measure, right? In order to so whatever, right? So this is the formula to write an objective and a key result, right? Probably I'll just quickly pause here to see if there are any questions. Yeah, folks, please feel free to speak up if you have any questions. Okay, so if there are none, I'll go to the next one. So necessary and sufficient test, right? So once you have your OKRs, what are the tests that you can do to, like, you created the OKR, right? Now you can go and test it out. Like you've built a car, you want to go and test it out. What can you do to test the car out, right? Um, Look at your objective and its key result and ask, are these key results really necessary? If the answer is yes, then they pass the necessary test. If the answer is no, then spend more time in OKR, like the previous place where we wrote the OKR. Drive better attendance at the conferences to improve the customer networking experience. I increase the attendance from 300 to 500. Is it necessary for me to do that? If you feel yes, then yes, it is a necessary OKR. And then for the next test, right? If I accomplish all my key results, will I have achieved my objective? So if I achieve all my key results, one of my key results is increase attendance from 300 to 500. If I achieve all my key results, will I have achieved my objective? If the answer is yes, then yes. Your key results are sufficient to measure the success of your OKR, right? So this is how you can measure if your OKR is actually necessary and sufficient, right? Okay, so I will go to the next slide. Um, again, again, some very common pitfalls. I think the first one that we have measured, too many, I mean, we have covered. The second one is objective is too broad, right? If your objective is too broad, saying that, like I said, right, if it is like very, very high level, then make sure that it has specific action with the purpose, right? Like we discussed earlier, it should have a specific action with the purpose of why we are doing it, right? The other pitfall is key results are not measurable, right? If they're not even measurable, like I said, if it's not from 300 to 500 or 50% to 80%, etc., then focus on making them measurable. Like try to quantify them in some way or the other, right? By percentages, by numbers, or whatever, right? And the other common pitfall is that if your key results are too tactical, I'm sorry, import to outline the outcomes versus the outputs, right? So basically, not just focus on the output, but on the outcome as a whole, right? I want to make this a pleasurable experience, right? So that is an outcome. Whereas the output is, I have 100 people attending the session, right? So that is just an output, it's just a tick mark. But if they're having a good time, then that is a measurable outcome for the key result. Right, and obviously here it is not measurable. So how do you make sure that you're able to kind of make it measurable, right? Saying that I want customer satisfaction to be, like say whatever, right? The 4.5 and above 4.5 or whatever, right? So which means that or they bring in referrals, right? So these are all measurable, right? So it should also not be tactical, but it should also be measurable. So these are some of the most important things that you need to take care of when you're constructing this OKR itself, right? So yes, I'm again going to pause here. Like I'm going to give a quick 2 minute time. If folks have any questions or there's any part of the session that they want me to revisit to kind of reiterate if they didn't have clarity on how an OKR is constructed, what do they want to do in terms of writing an OKR? Like if you have a common example that you want us to work through, we can do that as well, right? So let's give some time for folks to kind of do that.
Guys, you can use the chat box or you can even unmute yourself. Like when Kit mentioned, he's open to repeating any section, working along with you some points. So please use this opportunity. और कोई भी सवाल है, कुछ भी आप पूछना चाहते हैं, कुछ भी आप चाहते हैं फिर से दोहराएं, तो आप चैट बॉक्स का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. Yes, Venkat, on to the next thing. Sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry, yeah. So yeah, I think that is that. So this is about OKRs, and I'll just probably reiterate like why it is effective and why it's being useful. Obviously, this is something that is not very commonly talked about in product management. But trust me, anywhere that you land up in a product management role will definitely have this. So this is a very powerful tool to have in your kitty when you're getting into a product management role. And with that, I think I'm at the end of my session. I don't have any more slides. So if there are no more questions, then I think we can end the session as well.
So, guys, we have, like Venkat mentioned, content from his end is over. So, we want to utilize this time. You have to ask questions. Please use the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. There's many of the options. Next. कोई भी सवाल हो, किसी तरह का टॉपिक भी आपको नहीं समझ में आए, तो you can always repeat a topic as well. Just a quick overview you can give.
No, sir, I don't have any questions from my side. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Satish.
Thank you. Yeah. Hope the session was helpful to you.
So I guess there are no questions, Venkat. So any closing thoughts, and then we can wind up this session.
Nope, nothing as such. I am good from my side. So yes, so like I said, so if people are aspiring to be product managers, with the other things that you learn in terms of compete, market analysis, and all of those things, right? Understanding your customers and all those things. This OKR is something that will help you to execute well, right? So as a product manager, one, you have a strategic mindset, you have your customer centric approach and all of those things. But if you're not able to execute, then that is obviously, right, you are a thought leader, but you're not able to get anything in reality, right? You're not able to deliver anything. So this OKR is something that will help you deliver. So as a PM, this is something that you should always have in your kitty, because this is what will help you get the job done.
Great. It's a very thoughtful end. So thank you so much. With this, we are coming to today's end of today's session. Thank you so much, Venkat, again for joining us today and sharing your expertise with us. I believe everyone might have listened keenly. Have had a lot of takeaways because of this very engaging and well thought through
Definitely.
session.
Thank
So
you.
thank you everyone for joining in and making this successful session. So a quick reminder, put across the feedback form a couple of times. Please do fill it in before you leave. It will help us improve these sessions, and any feedbacks also we can pass on to the speakers who come, so that they can also be better prepared for the next set of sessions. You can also visit the Apna website, and I put the link in the chat. You'll find the recording of this and also the previous session. You can check for upcoming sessions there as well. As mentioned earlier, we'll have such sessions every week. So thank you so much. Keep join us for tomorrow. Have a good night, a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. See you guys.